Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Raith Rovers sacked Gary Locke and are looking for a new manager. Jim Duffy is plotting a monumental upset in the Scottish Cup. Johnny Hayes has signed a new deal at Aberdeen. That's the talking points, among others, in the company of Alan Ruff. And I'm delighted to say Morton midfielder Michael Tidser joins us as our bootroom guest on the programme tonight. So lots to talk about, including, of course, that forthcoming Scottish Cup tie at Ibrox. Rangers against Morton. We'll get Michael's thoughts on that. First and foremost, a managerial casualty, Ruffy. Gary Locke sacked, no wins in 14. Raith Rovers currently 8th in the Championship. And I think the board, looking at it, felt from 4th place finish last season, enough was enough.
Yeah, and that's the way it goes in football nowadays. You know, if you get into a bad run of defeats like that, obviously the board have to sit down and make some kind of decision. And unfortunately for Darren and Gary, they have to move on. But it'll be interesting to see what names are thrown up for that club, because it is quite a big club. You know, it's a nice stadium, and I'm sure there'll be a list of candidates.
Yeah, I think maybe the board were looking for Gary to take the team and push them on from where Ray McKinnon had left them.
Yeah, I think the initial early stages were positive. You know, I think everybody was thinking, top 4 at least. You know, they had some cup games as well. But obviously that run, and then somebody presses the panic button and they're off.
I think the only real highlight was, taking Hearts to a replay.
Yeah, I'm saying that there has been results along the way, but just the series of defeats and slipping down the league, and everybody knows how perilous it is when you get down there. You've got the playoff down there, you could fall into the relegation zone as well. So I think they just want to get somebody new in, somebody could maybe kick-start it again.
And of course, the final nail in the coffin was last night, losing by a 1-0 against Morton. Lee Kildare with a goal. Michael, you played from the start. Did you sense it was a team lacking in confidence?
I think you could tell, speaking to a few of the boys before the game, I think they were under pressure. And as you say, it's a shame to see a manager lose their job, but as us, as professionals as well, we just go out and try and get the 3 points, and thankfully we've done that.
Yep, and again, you guys must be looking now and thinking to yourself, I mean, have you exceeded expectations, when you look at it on a personal level and when you chat with your teammates?
No, I think over the course of the season, I would say we've probably punched above our weight, getting to a semi-final as well, of course, and sitting 3rd in the league now. But we've just got to keep going, keep pushing, and hopefully try and cement a playoff place. Yeah,
I mean, it's just been an unbelievable season, Ruffy. I mean, you look at it and everybody thinks to themselves, well, Hibs, Dundee United, but Morton could be the dark horses that people are maybe not considering, which would suit Duff. I mean, Jim Duffy would be happy with that. Just keep them in the slipstream and then upset them all.
Yeah, no, right from day one, I don't think anybody would have had Morton in the playoff positions. But as the season's what's on, it looks as if they're a stick on now. Obviously there's a lot of games to play, but the confidence there, you can see. I mean, I keep touching on. I briefly saw the game down at Ayr United, and I thought they were absolutely outstanding that night. I thought from back to front they were great up front. They had pace, a lot of experience in the team, and back to the olden days when Morton was a team that Capello, obviously, if you were going down there, it was always a very difficult place to get 3 points, and that's the way it's turning out this year.
Yeah, well, one thing that we highlight on this programme is the good football that's played in the Championship as well. I was watching you guys defeat St Mirren earlier on at Capello, and again, your manager seems to be preaching, keep the ball in the deck, move it about, switch it about. It's very good to watch.
No, I think I agree. Capello's a great surface, so like last night it was a bit boggy, it was wet, but I think coming to Capello, even both teams are playing and thinking it's a great surface, and as you say, the manager wants to play football, and we've done that this season and managed to turn Capello into a bit of a fortress. I don't think teams enjoy coming, and if we can keep it going, hopefully we finish 3rd.
Yeah, okay, let's switch our attention to the big game that everyone is talking about, because talking about it from the fact that you guys go into it on a high, 6 wins in 8 games, you're facing a side that have come under a fair bit of pressure. Rangers really under the microscope now, not only on the park but the manager as well. What's the mood and the sense from your guys to this game at Ibrox?
I think we're confident enough in our own ability. But listen, we know how big Rangers are at Ibrox. I know they're under a bit of pressure, but they're still odds-on favourites. You know, they're a massive club. You know, so I think if we go with a game plan, try and stick to it, frustrate them, you never know what can happen in the cup.
Yeah. From your own point of view, are there particular players on your side that you look at and think to yourself, well, these are match winners, these are the type of guys that can do something a wee bit out of the ordinary for us?
I would say as a squad together, I don't think there's anybody out there who we could say he'll definitely could turn it on and, you know, get us the win, you know. And I think that's why we're doing so well, because we're in it together, sort of thing. And I think that's a game plan for Sunday. We just got to go, as I say, frustrate them, you know, try and get the crowd to turn, and you never know what can happen. Yeah,
one of the pundits, Ruffy, that I respect greatly is Davy Provan, and he reckons from the newspaper this morning that if Rangers were to lose against Morton, then it's curtains for Mark Warburton.
I think it'd be a difficult situation. You know, I think obviously the fans will have hold their hands up and say, right, we've had enough. It depends on the board, you know, how strong they are, how well they think he's doing behind the scenes. And he'll have to ride it, there's no doubt about it. It would be a massive blow for Rangers to go out of the cup, and it'll be an expectation that the supporters have of getting to the final of that cup when they look at how far Celtic are ahead. So it'd be a hard one to get over. I think it really, really depends on the reaction for the supporters and the board.
Yeah, dare I suggest to you that I think 27 points behind Celtic is a huge gap, and to go out of the cup, no disrespect to Morton, I think people would look at it, I think the board would look at it and say enough is enough. I think it would be very difficult to defend that situation. I mean, Mark Warburton's saying, you know, they just need a little bit of luck. It's not that they're playing badly. I think some people would maybe even question that line.
Well, any of the games I've saw, you know, they are creating chances. You know, they should be taking some of the chances. Obviously, the strikers aren't coming up with the goods. It's amazing to think that Kenny Miller's the top goal scorer with 6 goals in a Rangers team. You know, that's just not heard of. You know, usually Old Firm strikers have at least 15 to 20 at this stage of the season. So it just shows you, you know, things aren't happening for them, and I'm sure Morton will be hoping it continues. But you're right, you know, there will be a massive reaction if Morton were to win that game.
Yeah, and Barry Mackay's come out and said that he reckons, you know, returning to the top flight, the team are feeling the strain. Is that, I mean, that's not something you normally hear from, you know, Rangers players of the past on this. You know, if you're good enough to play for Rangers, you're big enough to handle the pressures that come with it, and some, I think, are not able to handle it.
No, I've spoken about this on numerous occasions. You know, when obviously the promotion from the leagues was pretty easy. There wasn't many turbulent times apart from the one time, obviously, when Hearts went. But now you're in there. They've signed a lot of new players, and when you're a player who's probably not been used to playing that kind of limelight, I mean, the 2 lone guys will never have played in front. They might be great players, but they'll have never have played in front of 50,000. They would never have 50,000 people turning against them in a half of a game. So that you need some kind of reaction, you know. And sometimes it takes you maybe 6-7 months, you know, to get used to that kind of criticism. So I think that is the problem, that there's not enough of them went through a bad time, and they're finding it very hard to deal with.
Yep. Okay, I asked you about your team, Michael. What about the Rangers side? You know what they are collectively at Ibrox is going to be difficult, but what about individuals? Are there players there that you look at and think they could do something, so we have to watch them?
As you mentioned, Barry Mackay, I think he's one of the top players. Kenny Miller as well. I think if you look through the squad, they have got good players, you know, and sometimes it just doesn't happen for one reason or another. But no, we'll be focusing on our own game plan and try to nullify their threats, and if we can do that, hopefully cause an upset. Yeah,
well, and with that in mind, your manager Jim Duffy said it would be a monumental upset if Morton were to do it. You know, talking about the gulf between the two sides. What has he brought to the team?
The manager, I think it just instills confidence in the boys. Everybody's desperate to do well. Even last night, he rotated the squad, and the boys who come in done well. And you know, it just shows that we've got good strength there as well. So I think the manager's he's very clever. He knows he's been in the game a long time, you know, and he knows how to press people's buttons and get a reaction from them, and that's what he does.
Yeah. Has he mentioned the fact that he won Player of the Year in 1985?
Once or twice he has.
Yeah, okay. I just want to gauge whether he goes back to tell you how good a player he was, and he was a good player at that. Okay, more from Michael Tidser after the break. We'll talk about Johnny Hayes' contract talks possibly on the way for Craig Gordon as well. We'll discuss that, look at some of the other Scottish Cup fixtures and where the shocks might lie. We'll get Ruffy's thoughts and Michael's on that as well. Join us after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. Our bootroom guest is Morton midfielder Michael Tidser, getting ready for that big Scottish Cup game at the weekend, Rangers against Morton. There are a few other lovely ties to look forward to, some that are getting one city in particular excited, and that's the Edinburgh Derby. Here's a look at all the fixtures for the weekend. Of course, don't forget on Saturday we'll be on from 2 o'clock, keeping you right up to date with any shocks as they materialise. Ayr United Clyde, Celtic Inverness, Dunfermline against Hamilton, East Fife St Mirren, Hearts against Hibs, Rangers Morton, Ross County Aberdeen and St Johnstone against Partick Thistle. If you're thinking of a shock, Ruffy, where is it coming?
Oh, I think Dunfermline will feel quite confident at home. I think they've got a chance. Obviously, it's still going to be a shock at Hibs Hearts game. You know, that wouldn't be a shock.
Yeah. There's not going to be a shock, or it wouldn't be a shock.
No, I don't think it'd be a shock because it'll be a draw.
Yeah. You think it's back to Easter Road for that one?
No, the shock would obviously be Ibrox. The shock would be massive. It would be sitting, you know, Rangers players will have to step up and produce the form that they will believe that they can. But I mean, as I was saying, Morton are on a good run and they'll go there with confidence. I would think expectations, if you were to get a draw and take them back to Capello, it would be a massive bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. It would allow the managers actually to make more than a few signings, I would imagine, in the summer as well, and keep the chairman happy, that's for certain. You mentioned the Edinburgh Derby. It's the one that's screaming out at everyone, Michael. Ian Cathro said that it's crucial that the players feed off the energy of the stadium, and I couldn't think of a better stadium when you're talking about atmosphere for a derby match.
No, I've played there a few times myself at Tynecastle. It's a great stadium, very tight, you know, and I'm sure it'll be a great game. Who wins it, I don't know. Two good sides, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm struggling actually, Ruffy, to come up with. I mean, if anything, home advantage should be there, but you know, we've fallen foul of that before on the show, offering a prediction on this one. But Ian Cathro clearly. I mean, I don't like to use the word revenge in the air on this one, but it's a real chance for them to knock the cup holders out. Who'd have thought you would have been saying that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, if 2 games ago we wouldn't be saying that. You know, obviously the Rangers game was a massive boost. You know, the Motherwell one, okay, Motherwell went down to 10 men. I wouldn't take too much out of that one, but they're certainly on bigger confidence now than what they were 2-3 weeks ago. You know, they'll be absolutely buzzing. The supporters will be buzzing, and I think it just depends. You know, with Hibs coming up a league, you know how they adapt with that. But the derby games, you know. It's who grabs a hold of it, what players, certain players grab it with the scruff of the neck, what wee breaks you get here and there. And that's what they'll be hoping for. When we saw the one last year that you're talking about, Hearts are 2-0 up and then looking done and dusted, and then all of a sudden, bang, bang, the game's back on again. And that's what derby games are all about. But I think the most Hibs would be looking for that one would be a replay.
Is there a great leveller, Ruffy, on the fact that Ian Cathro is early into the job building his squad, and then you have the tremendous experience of Neil Lennon and how to handle these type of matches, and of course they are the cup holders now.
Yeah, I mean, Neil's got all the experience in the world, but it's his players that are going to do it for him on the day. He can just do everything behind the scenes, and he'll hope that his players turn up. Obviously, that was a really disappointing result against Ayr United last week. He'll be hoping he can just shelf that out the road and hope it was a one-off and go into this game with confidence. But I always think the first 10-15 minutes of these games, set your stall out. Obviously, first goal's always important in a derby.
Yep, okay. I wonder if you'll change your mind the closer we get to that game and your prediction on Friday. Celtic are playing Inverness at the weekend of the Cup. Of course, stories this morning emerging that Craig Gordon in contract talks with Celtic, something Brendan Rodgers mentioned, that it was very much on the cards.
Yep, I don't think he'll have any difficulty at all getting the deal that he wants. I think the interesting bit will be how long it's for. You know, obviously Craig has decided that he's going to stay. So I think the club have to make it at least 3 years. And obviously, I don't know about his wages, but I'm sure they'll be dramatically different from what they're on. And that's what happens when you're at a club and you show a bit of loyalty, and he's getting rewarded.
Yeah. Have any of the guys chatted about the possibility now that Celtic have of going undefeated all the way through the season, Michael?
We spoke about it in the car. 4 years travelled down, and we all says that we fancy them to go undefeated. I think if you even looking at them on Sunday there, 2-1 down at half time, come back winning 5-2 and doing it so convincingly, you know, they're so strong and powerful. Bring on Dembele, he scores a hat-trick, you know. And I think they could go. It'll be interesting to see how it works out for them.
Yeah, Eric Zviachenko is certainly attracting attention. Ruffy, Leicester City, among a couple of other clubs that have been quoted as possibly looking at him, interested in him. It gives you an indication of how strong Celtic are, that suddenly, you know, it's not one player now, it's 2 and 3, whereas before you were looking last season under Ronnie Dylan and thinking, you know, who would they take now that Van Dijk was away?
Yeah, and the thing about it is they've all got European experience now. That obviously puts a couple of notches onto their price as well. And I mean, we never heard anything about that during the window there. You know, obviously his agent is now telling us now. But, you know, I think he'd want to be part of the setup, what's coming up. I think every player at the club would be excited what the future holds.
Yeah, and I suppose when you're doing well, the last thing other clubs in Scotland want to see is Celtic, off the back of their interim results with 18.6 million in profit there, suddenly have another 6 million plus still to be paid by UEFA.
Yeah, well, Brendan Rodgers said that he wanted to add in the window there, but he's obviously decided that everything's going well at this particular moment, and he'll wait. And I think that's another worry for the teams, because now he's going to wait with a lot of money behind him. He's going to wait till the right players are available, because he said he didn't want to go into the same carry-on as the last year, I think it was, when the game came so soon. Obviously that Gibraltar game will be hurting him badly. He'll not want to go through that again. So I think the Celtic supporters are in for a real treat when he decides to splash some of that cash.
Yep. Aberdeen, Johnny Hayes signed a new deal. A blow for Cardiff if they were going to come back for him in the summer, but a real bonus for Aberdeen. I think possibly down to the relationship that Derek McInnes has with the player, just reassuring him.
Yeah, I think we said that. I mean, I think Derek was on record and saying like there's 6 or 7 of the guys out, and what he's done now is he's got not the important one, but the most of the important players on contracts. And sometimes when you get that kind of scenario, people see them re-signing, sometimes the rest of the players just fall into suit. But I think Niall McGinn will be definitely the one that he really wants to get on a new contract. Yeah,
I don't think I disagree with you, Ruffy. If anything, though, I think the most important player, Michael, was indeed Johnny Hayes, because he's the one player that I think stands out above everyone else at Pittodrie.
No, I agree with you. Anytime you watch Aberdeen, or even just the highlights, he's chipping in with goals, assists, and I think the boys up there will look at him, you know, for, as you say, a wee bit of inspiration, and I think he's got that wee bit of magic, and he can hurt teams.
Yeah, absolutely. So well pleased with that. This next part, Ruffy, is interesting because Motherwell have said they're going to meet with the SFA. They need clarity on the guidelines surrounding serious foul play. This obviously is off the back of, you know, Scott McDonald sent off by Willie Collum for that tackle in the game against Rangers, and then of course Carol McHugh dismissed by Andrew Dallas for a challenge on Don Cowie. What's your take on it? I mean, is it all about referees and consistency and interpretation?
Yeah, but I'm led to believe, Peter, that at the start of every season the referees give the clubs a chance to come in and chat to the referees, and I think they had one in particular meeting, and I think there was only about 3 people turned up at it, you know, to explain the new rules and how they were going to be implemented. Yeah. So sometimes I think it's the club's own fault. I'm not saying it's Motherwell's fault, but I'm saying if you're not going to turn up and listen to what the interpretation of the rules and how it's going to be, then you deserve everything you get. I'm not saying the referees get it right all the time, but you got to give them a bit of slack because they've got to make that decision.
Yep. Standard of refereeing in the Championship this season, Michael?
I think it's been a bit patchy at times, you know. Our ref last night, I just feel sometimes you can't even speak to them, even when you go. They're all a bit, think you're always against them, when sometimes I just want to have just a word, just to find out what his thoughts are on it. But then again, there's been some refs who've been great, you know, and so a bit inconsistent at times, but that's just the nature of it now.
Yeah, just briefly, with your experience, do you start dreaming a couple of days before it about knocking Rangers out of the cup?
No, I think you've just got to, as I say, we're massive underdogs. There's no pressure on us at all. So, listen, it'd be great. It'd be amazing for the club, or even if you got a draw and took them back to Capello, it'd be great. So, as I say, we'll go in. We'll believe we can cause an upset, and hopefully we can. Okay,
Michael, thanks for coming on the show. We wish you well for the remainder of the season. Thanks to Michael Tidser of Morton. That big Scottish Cup match coming up at the weekend. We will continue our focus on that. Kevin Harper will join us on tomorrow night's programme to look ahead to that Edinburgh derby. We'll get an opinion out of him. We'll check with Ruffy once more just to see if he's going to change his mind on the prediction. He's sticking with a draw at the moment. Who would change their mind when you offer an opinion on a game? Thanks for watching the programme. Good night.